to Mad About Miniatures. I'm Becky Gannon, and today I'm talking to Crystal Cox, who shares my love of Halloween. She even got married on Halloween. We talk about her spooky, cute Halloween miniatures and art, as well as sharing a resource for miniaturists who need information about how to protect their art from being copied or stolen. Crystal is on Instagram at SpookShowBabe. Let's go talk to Crystal. Hello, Crystal. It's so great to have you on the show today.
Hi, Becky. It's wonderful to be here.
So you and I have something in common, which is we are both obsessed with Halloween and miniatures.
Yes, absolutely.
So you have Spook Show Babe Designs, and you're on Instagram as Spook Show Babe, and you make spooky, cute minis and other things too, stickers and little toys. What really caught my attention first was those little tiny hutches, and each one is like a different theme, but they're all spooky cute, and they're all different.
I do try to not limit myself to just, one design, because as we decorate our homes, we all have a unique style and preference in how we decorate things. So when I design these little miniature hutches, I kind of go in with the same mentality. How would different people want to decorate these different hutches with different little knickknacks and coffee mugs and that sort of thing? So yeah, I do try to make them all unique.
Well, that's always good in an art piece. But also, I always have this conversation with my husband. He says Christmas is a theme. And I said, no, Christmas has sub-themes. There's, farm Christmas. There's elegant Christmas. There's white Christmas. There's candy Christmas. And I think Halloween is the same way.
Yeah, last year it was cool when I saw that. I think it started at Michael's craft stores, where you saw a lot more of pastel colors being used. And I know there was a little bit of controversy around, some people like the classic, just black, orange, green, purple. But there were people like myself who kind of appreciated this fresh new take on Halloween, where we saw these really pretty pastel like pink and purple and turquoise. I thought it was really cool.
Well, I've always had teal in my Halloween decorations. I've always found a way to get teal in my house.
It's a good color.
It's an awesome color. And then also, that whole retro, I don't know if it's 50s, 60s sort of, vintage cats on gourds, that's sort of coming back around too.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've been seeing definitely a resurgence in the vintage Halloween. Actually, all holidays, Christmas, Valentine's Day, you see a lot more of that, where they're using a lot of those colors from that time, or a lot of the themes, like you said, like the black cats are really popular this year. And I remember even as a kid growing up, my mom, and she still has it, she got these Halloween cutouts from, I want to say Hallmark, way back. This is, the 80s. And it's a pumpkin with a cute face with a cute black cat popping out of the pumpkin wearing a little witch's hat. And I think that just always stuck with me, because one of the first things I ever made actually was a black cat coming out of a pumpkin. So it's funny how, you see a lot more of that now, and it can be really inspiring.
It is funny to me how our childhood memories really form a core of who we are or pop up in our art.
Yes, definitely.
So tell me about what spooky cute means to you.
Spooky cute is basically adding elements that you would typically see around Halloween. So, a lot of black cats, ghosts are very popular in what I do. Jack-o'-lanterns, bats, spiders, although I'm arachnophobic, so I don't use too many of the spider themes. But I just like to add some of that cute, like I said, that cutout that my mom still has today from the 80s. It's this adorable, almost Precious Moments style, these big green eyes that the cat has, and the smiling face in the jack-o'-lantern. It's cute. It's nice. It's pleasing to look at. And I try to add that into, my designs.
That's funny when you said Precious Moments, because I do see a little bit of that figurine style.
Yeah. I grew up, my mom really enjoying Precious Moments. We went to Missouri to see the Precious Moment Church that's there.
No.
So, it's, it's something, again, from my childhood that obviously, kind of influences me now as an adult doing this.
I've always loved Halloween. What about you?
Absolutely. Yes. It started at a very young age, and it's just one of those holidays that, yeah, it taps into that inner child, that magic and excitement, the anticipation of putting together your costume, wearing it to show off to your friends, the trick or treating. I mean, it's just such a magical, fun time. Even as an adult, I think we still experience that kind of fun around Halloween.
I love Christmas too, but once you become a mom, it sort of becomes almost like a stage production, and you're in charge of producing Christmas for your family.
Yeah, definitely. We used to celebrate Christmases at my grandma's. My grandma would do a whole thing. She was of German descent, so it was a big ordeal. I mean, you had a whole table of cold cuts that she would buy and put together, and I mean, it was this just huge experience, from the tree, and she tried to make it really meaningful. And I see my mom does that now because obviously my grandma's passed, but yeah, it's funny how these traditions, they really start with the people that matter the most to us trying to bring that joy into our life. And it just stays with you and makes every year that much more exciting when you get to spend it with them.
Yes, and I love Christmas. But I do think one of the reasons I love Halloween is it's a lot of the fun, the color, the glitter, without quite as much work.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I could totally see that. Unless you're having to make all the costumes, that I could see being challenging. My mom would make some of our costumes, and yeah, I remember the night before the sewing machine going and, just frantically trying to get us all set up for it.
When my son was little, my youngest, we found a costume at, a consignment shop, Spider-Man, in September, and he wore it the entire month of September. And so by Halloween, those costumes are not made so well. And so about a week before Halloween, it literally just severed in half and the bottom half fell off him.
Oh my gosh.
And he was 3, so he didn't take this well.
Oh.
But my mom brought him over with the costume, and he just watched so intently while she fixed it. It was really a cool moment because he became really interested in the machine and the pedal, and he was so grateful when he could put it back on.
Yeah, I love stories like that because I bet you later on as an adult, you're going to find that there's something that he's going to create or whatever, and he'll go back in that memory and you'll go back to that memory of, well, I remember when you watched so intently them fixing this, and now look what you're doing here.
Oh, yes.
There's so many moments like that with my mom that I'll have because we're very close, and I'll be creating something and she'll say, oh, I remember when I bought you these markers and you drew something like this, something I was interested in, like a cat or whatever. And it's always fun to hear that because I don't have those memories anymore, but my mom does. And she'll always kind of remind me, like, you've always had this creative spirit. You've always wanted to do these sort of things. And here you are doing them. And it's fun sharing that with her.
Yes, so you've always done art, not always miniatures, though.
No, that started in, I believe, 2019. I started to take an interest in designing just on a much smaller scale.
And before that, what kind of art did you do?
I started with illustration, did watercolor paintings. That was a big thing for a while for me. And then my husband encouraged me when I started to get kind of bored with it, because as an artist, you're always trying to find new challenges. My husband's like, well, why don't you try sculpture? You try making like some of the pieces you've been painting into like 3D designs like that. And I went with it. I tried it. I loved it and started doing sculpture. And it's kind of like a tree with all these branches. It just keeps evolving. I keep evolving in what I do. And miniatures started in 2019 when I was getting a little bored with the sculpting stuff. I thought, well, here's something that's new and challenging I could try. And yeah, it's fun. It's something that really has captured my interest and held my interest.
I think it always does once you start because there's so many different places you can take it.
Absolutely.
And with you, it started with these little hutches you do. You kind of make things for them with clay.
Yep. So my main material that I like to use is an air dry clay. I just find it's easy to use and you don't have to bake it or anything. It dries, especially when making little miniature pieces. It dries, pretty quickly, which is nice. I like to use, obviously like beads that you find at craft stores to create different things. It's really just kind of using your imagination and looking at things and kind of thinking, oh, you know what I can make with this? I can make like a coffee grinder if I, use some wire and this bead and a little piece of like a wood block. Or it's fun because it's like a puzzle. You get an idea and then you try to seek out the materials to create what you have in mind.
I know exactly what you mean. So when did you start selling your art?
I started in 2017, and that was just the watercolor paintings that I did. I made prints. I also dabbled in some jewelry making. I think we all at some point or another kind of do a little bit of that.
That would be a good question. Is there any miniaturist woman who hasn't made jewelry?
Right.
I'm going to put that on a quiz. I bet the answer is no.
I would find it hard to believe we haven't all dabbled a little in jewelry making.
It would almost be like, why not?
Right? Exactly.
That's funny. I hadn't thought of that before. Now I'm curious.
And it's funny because kind of going back to like the miniature thing, when I went to go pick up some beads, I thought I would make some beads to, make some beaded bracelets for autumn. So my mom went with me, actually. We went together, and I'm looking at these like tiny seed beads. And she's like looking at like these bigger round beads. And she's like, you always go towards the tiny stuff. Why do you always make things so hard for yourself? How do you even see, to string these tiny little seed beads? And I don't know what it is that I'm so drawn to like little stuff like that even making bracelets, I'm picking these tiny little beads to do it.
I literally just think it's something inside of us. Maybe we just like a challenge.
I guess so.
That is fun. And what other kinds of miniatures have you made?
So many. My favorite, honestly, is making those kits. I think they have some at Michael's. I could be wrong, but they were like these little, like a little coffee shop.
Oh, yes.
I did my own spooky twist on it. So the coffee shop that I made, I designed, I think I called it Dead Tired Cafe.
Oh, I love that.
And it kind of had like a whole like skull theme. And it was just, it had spooky elements and vibes, kind of something you'd see like in a Tim Burton movie, a lot of black and white stripe, like Beetlejuice. So yeah, I like creating those kits, but making them in my own kind of style. So in that spooky, cute kind of way.
We call that kit bashing.
Okay, cool. I like that.
Well, that's great. And I know that you and I share a love of decorating our home and having Halloween parties. You've taken Halloween to an even greater level than I have.
We do go all out.
When you met your husband, he's a big Halloween lover.
Absolutely, yeah. We were young. I mean, gosh, this was in 1999 that we met. We met in high school. It was one of those things where we met, kind of right before the season. And it was like this fun, exciting time where we both discovered we both really loved the holiday. And we were like, oh, let's celebrate it. And we have ever since. And it's just grown and grown and grown over the years. We got married on Halloween, actually. So that's kind of fun.
Yes, and it had a Halloween theme. You embraced the Halloween.
We did. We kept the ceremony a little more formal, but we did get married in an abandoned old 1920s theater.
Tell me about that.
The guy that owned the theater, he had mentioned he had this old theater that he was trying to restore from like the 1920s. And I was like, wow, that sounds really cool. And at the time, I was doing photography. Mostly kind of fashion editorial sort of stuff. So I thought, man, that would be such a cool backdrop to have this, old theater in the background. And I asked him, can I come out and take a look at it? And he said, yeah. So we did. And it was gorgeous. Yes, it was in a state of decay, but you could still see structurally all the beauty that was there from, this old past forgotten time. I ultimately then decided when my husband and I got engaged, I was like, we're pretty unique people. We're not your typical people who would have a normal traditional wedding in a church. And I was like, how about we get married? My husband proposed to me on October 13th, and we decided right away we were going to get married on Halloween because it was our favorite holiday.
But wait, tell me it was a year later, not like 13 days later.
Absolutely not, no. Oh man, I couldn't even imagine the stress of that one.
Okay, continue.
So yeah, we had a year to plan for it, and we did. We were at that theater every weekend cleaning it and getting it ready for all the guests that would be coming. And he loves lighting. My husband's very good at setting up very theatrical, atmospheric lighting. So he took care of that and lit this theater in like red, and there were black lights. It just looked like someone was going to do a performance there. It was so cool.
Wow.
And we had candles everywhere, candelabras, almost kind of like a old school Dracula feel.
Or Phantom of the Opera.
Definitely, definitely. We had fog machines, low lane fog going. I mean, it was so fun. And everyone who got to come to this day will say just how fun of a wedding it was, because it was like a whole production. And then there was a costume party after the actual wedding. So it was just, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So I'm looking at a picture of you now. Is the black dress your wedding dress?
That was my wedding dress. It's actually like a really deep, like wine burgundy red.
Oh, I see that now. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, I ended up finding that from a UK seller. I think the name was Fairy Gothmother. And yeah, I just thought the dress was stunning. Because again, it was like trying to incorporate kind of a spooky feel, but still keep it elegant. So, and I felt that dress really had that.
It does. Now, you have Halloween decorations all up for the costume party. Was it in the same place, or how did you do that?
Yeah, the theater area, like the stage and everything, was set up for the wedding because we got married up on the stage. So seating was all in front of that stage. It was a very big building. It was 2 stories. So we were able to do the dining area upstairs. And then the rest of the whole theater was just completely open for people to just roam about and enjoy the atmosphere and look at everything. Like I said, we've been passionate Halloween people for a long time. So we had so many animatronics to bring along to set up, tons of pumpkins. We had decorations. We made a lot of it. Yeah, it was just a really fun and exciting Halloween party after.
That's just so fun. And do you usually throw up a Halloween party every year?
We have, in the last couple of years, we haven't been able to as much just because our work is so, it's a very busy time of the year for both of us. But yeah, we have hosted probably well over a dozen Halloween parties in our time.
I bet you're the favorite house to go trick or treat to in the neighborhood.
We definitely are. We're the one with the most decorations, so people know immediately that's the house to go to because they're probably handing out the full-size candy bars.
Yes. One year, my sons and I, when they were, I don't know, probably like 8 and 11, they were obsessed with like rope and harnesses. And we made, and they just were hauling things up and down the stairs, for a month. So I decided to put that to good use, and we made one of those cheesecloth ghosts. And when the trick-or-treaters came, we would pull it and send it careening down the stairway.
That is awesome. I love that idea. That is really cool.
Do you do spooky food?
Around this time of the year, we'll take a bell pepper, the classic stuffed pepper recipe, and we'll cut jack-o'-lantern faces into the bell peppers. So it's like a little stuffed jack-o'-lantern.
I make these skull calzones.
Oh.
There's a Nordic pan that a lot of people make the chocolate cakes in, but I make the calzones.
That sounds delicious.
And they look great, especially when like a little of the red sauce is leaking out of the skull head.
Yeah, I love that. That sounds so good and so cool.
So I had them like 2 Halloweens in a row because, you can only use the pan once a year. So my husband's like, maybe we should try something different. Maybe people are sick of the calzones. So I asked a couple of my friends, and my best friend was like, no, I was looking forward to them. My husband and I don't want to come. They're all like, once a year is really not too much.
That's so fun that you've started like a tradition that people get excited for.
Yes, it was really interesting. Like they were really quite upset at the thought of that going away. So have you had other jobs before you did your business?
Before doing this, my husband and I were running our own small business. My husband does a lot of sculptural work, and he's really, really good and known for making these silicone, high quality Halloween masks. I mean, they look like, they're film ready, stuff you'd see in the movies. When we were living in California for a little while, we were working for a company that also did that. And, we were talking about it, and we kind of got the idea like, we can do this. So we moved back to Wisconsin. That's where we grew up. And we started it. And within about a year, it started to really, take off. And we were doing that together for, a couple years before Spook Show Babe Designs really started to take off. And then I unfortunately had to leave, doing that with him because I couldn't keep up with both. I had to make the decision to just go off and do my own thing. He still does it. He just got a big, project with Six Flags Great America for their Fright Night.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he designed a whole mask, sculpted it, molded it, cast it, painted everything, and they're using it at their theme park. It's a character, I guess, based off of one of the roller coasters there. It was a fun time, but, I will admit that it was a lot of hard manual work. I mean, you're lifting very heavy molds, and it took a lot of work to do. So I was a little glad once Spook Show Babe Designs really picked up, and I was kind of able to be like, okay, well, leave this work to the guys, and I'm going to do my, girly stuff here.
So what I love is you don't just do Spooky Cute at Halloween. I see Spooky Cute Valentine's, Spooky Cute...
Yep.
Is there Easter? Is there a Spooky Cute Easter?
I've tried to make every holiday spooky cute because, before things started to kind of become a little more, I guess, kind of mainstream. You started to see more of that in like big box stores. Back in like 2018 already, I was starting to make things a little bit more on the spooky side of these more cutesy holidays because it's just my style. And, I would go and I couldn't really find things that I felt I'd want to put in my home. So I started making little peeps where I took the peep design and made them little zombies or put little, drew a little skeleton on them. So they were kind of cute, but also with a little bit of a spooky edge.
Okay, so that's how you make Easter spooky. You've got zombie peeps. And do you have like little bunnies with vampire teeth or something?
I have done that, yep.
Okay, I get that. How do you make Valentine's Day spooky?
So ghosts are a big part of what I've created for years. I incorporate ghosts into things. And I remember one day just, kind of thinking things over in my mind, like how could I add a ghost to like a Valentine's Day thing? I started by making these little clay ornaments, and they were little ghosts, and they were holding a little red banner with a little saying that said, "Be my boo." Aww. That's kind of where it started. I was thinking of this, play on words to incorporate into the season. It was just one of those things where I enjoyed the challenge. Yet again, it was another moment where I'm like, if you don't like the decorations you see in these stores, how can you make your own that you would want to put in your home? And I put it out there on Instagram, and, within, I don't know, I think it was only within that first year, I noticed that Easter and Valentine's Day became my biggest selling holidays because it just wasn't really out there for people. So people like me that wanted that, they knew they could come to me to find that.
I think I've thought of a holiday that cannot be made spooky cute.
Okay, challenge me.
4th of July.
Oh, red, white, and boo.
You did. Okay, you did it.
I've made ghosts holding little sparklers.
Oh, that would be cute. I was trying to think of like a zombie in an Uncle Sam hat.
I could see it. I could definitely see it.
That's funny. So, do you consider yourself a miniaturist?
Yes, in a way I do, because I have spent a lot of time and effort in researching it. I have a passion for it. I've spent, countless hours painting little miniatures, making little miniatures that, though it's not something I only do, I would say that, the amount of work I've put into them and the research I've put into them and the appreciation. I mean, I went to the Chicago Art Museum to see the Thorn miniature rooms because I thought, wow, this is amazing that they have these so close to where I live that I can see them. So I have a great appreciation for it. Absolutely.
Oh, I definitely consider you a miniaturist. And did you know in Chicago there's another miniature house that's beautiful?
Actually, I did not.
Let's see, what is it called? The Museum of Science and Industry?
Okay.
There is the Colleen Moore Fairy Castle.
I did not know that.
It
Wow.
is fantastic. She was a silent film star and she got divorced and her dad wanted to cheer her up, so they decided to build a luxury dollhouse, and a lot of Hollywood artisans contributed. And she's got all kinds of things like Mother's Diamond and the chandelier.
Wow. Okay, that's cool.
Right. And there's like a little fairy garden. It's very, very cool, very big. You should go see it.
Absolutely. I am definitely going to do that. Thank you for telling me about that.
Yes, well, I'm always trying to bring miniatures to people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I'm always trying to find them. I recently went to Ireland and I did all this research and I couldn't find a single miniature house to go to. Nothing.
Oh.
On like the third day, we went to this museum called the Little Museum in Dublin. And after the tour, we went down and there was this enormous, like 8 by 13 dollhouse. And it took 20 artisans 20 years to make it. It was fabulous. And it'd been in storage somewhere else. And it's not even on the website that's there. And I'm like, the universe just wants me to find them.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I want to get a little serious for a minute. You had something happen to you that I think a lot of miniature artisans worry about, which is someone's copying, stealing your work.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, it was a big box store that should have known better.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, I can go a little bit into detail, not too much though, just because I do have an attorney that I'm working with that's helping me to, resolve this situation because it is really lousy. Basically, yes, a big box store, a popular store that many, many people I'm sure have shopped at, took a design that I shared on my social media and they had it made and, sold internationally, actually, because I think they have stores in Ireland, the UK, Canada, Germany. So basically, it's been sold everywhere.
You had a drawing, and then they took that drawing and basically made it into a 3D figurine that looked just like the drawing, right?
Yes. It's a decor piece. And when that began, what you pointed out, that was one of my biggest fears because I've always heard this, theory out there that, if you change something 30%, then, people don't really have much of a case. And I thought, okay, well, they took my illustration, down to the last sprinkle that I put on it, down to the colors, and I thought, I'm like, this is outrageous though, because it's so clearly my work. Luckily, I was able to get in touch with some people, Justice for Artists, and they're very, very knowledgeable on these sort of things. And he explained to me that, this is something that isn't right. Even if they made the illustration into, a 3D piece, it's so similar that it's not okay what they did, and it is technically a copyright infringement. At first thinking I wouldn't have anything I could do about it, it was so refreshing to hear like, okay, I can do something because it's not right. It's just not right to do that. I designed a little ice cream stand called Spooky Scoops, and Spooky Scoops has kind of been an IP of mine for I want to say 6 years now, where I make ice cream cones, but the ice cream part, the scoops are like, a jack-o'-lantern face and a ghost or a bat, so I basically put together these characters, these ice cream cone characters, and they're called Spooky Scoops.
And what struck me was they really didn't change things. Like they could have. It really is just like they sent it to somebody and said, make this 3D.
Yeah, that's what I felt too looking at it, and what my customers and fan base also saw and felt about it.
So I know one of the reasons you wanted to share this was to tell people and to tell other artists about this. What is it called? Justice for Artists?
Yep, Justice for Artists. They help independent artists, small business owners. Regardless, your art is protected. They know so much about IP laws, copyright laws. They can really help artists know how to resolve an issue when something like this, hopefully it doesn't happen to them, but if it were to happen, they can walk you through how to have those products that have been stolen from you taken off the website or taken out of those stores.
And I suppose that they probably have some advice for people on a preventative basis too.
Correct. Yes, they have a lot of good advice on how to protect your art so that, because I will admit, after that happened, there was a new fear of, do I post this? Do I share my art? Because now I have this concern. Is it going to get stolen? Is someone going to take this from me again? Justice for Artists was great at giving me the information that I didn't have that I needed to make sure that going forward, I can protect my art that I put out there so that hopefully this doesn't happen again. And if it were, I at least know that I'm protected.
You said it was very disruptive to your business too, because people thought you had sold it to the store. People saw that. They were confused. Was it yours? Was it someone else's?
Yeah, there definitely was some confusion. There was confusion on my part. I get a message from a longtime fan of my work saying, "Hey, isn't this yours from a few years ago?" And I look at this picture, and yeah, it was like for like 30 seconds, I blanked because I'm like, where did you find this? It's just kind of this like shock of how did this happen?
Like, did I sculpt this and not remember?
I know, right? I'm like, I know I've been really busy and everything's a blur, but yeah, it was pretty insane. I was really disappointed and a lot of emotions were going through me at that moment.
I can imagine. Well, I think one of the reasons I want to talk about this is there are things you can do, and it's great to know of an organization that can help. And I think people shouldn't hesitate if there's a real issue.
Correct. It doesn't even have to be a big box store. If there's somebody that is stealing your artwork and profiting off of it or whatever, I mean, you should speak up and do something because especially companies, I don't like to make corporations out to be the enemy or whatever, but you have to really consider that the more they get away with it, it's just going to continue. They're going to become more actively seeking free art to use off of independent artists if nobody speaks up and says something and starts holding them accountable to it.
I can see that. They need to feel a little pain to behave themselves.
You got to discipline a kid, you got to discipline these companies, I guess.
So what is next for you? Do you have some goals for the next 5 years? Do you have something you really want to do?
Well, right now, my goal is kind of just been keeping creative, staying active in the community so that people are aware of what I'm doing so that, I can keep growing my business, essentially. I feel very, very, unbelievably fortunate to have been able to do this for a living now for a while, but things are changing. The tariffs and just a lot of the people out there that are struggling, you see a lot of changes in the business side of things, and that can be a little scary, especially in my case where I don't have another income to fall back on. This is what I do. I try really hard to just stay positive, focus on new projects that I think would be exciting for people, and even this month, I've been putting together little shadow boxes with my miniature hutches in a Halloween theme because I know that this is time of year people really want to see that.
Yes, it is that time of year. And I've extended it. Each year I start Halloween decorating just a little bit earlier.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
It's always hard because to have minis ready for Halloween, you have to start way before then. So, when I start back in August, I can't post. But, by September, I'm like, people, I've been working on this for 2 months. I got to share it.
Yeah.
I can't wait any longer.
I totally understand. I'm starting on Christmas. I have to start thinking ahead. And, that's not something a lot of people really want to see right now. But it's like, yeah, you start working on it in advance and then you get excited to share it. And you're like, oh, I got to wait, though, because I don't want to bombard people with Christmas stuff when they're, thinking Halloween.
It's already in the stores. You won't be you won't be bombarding them.
Well, I feel bombarded myself when I go into stores and I see it right now. I'm like, no, it's too early, even though I myself am working on it.
But it's different if you're working on it to get it ready.
That is true. That is very true.
I think so too. So what advice would you give someone starting to try to live off the income of their art, making their art, their miniatures, their business?
That's a good question. Best advice I can give is honestly, and I know it sounds cliche, but don't get discouraged and give up because I can't tell you how many times, even recently, I will experience a feeling of discouragement and how maybe a piece of art I shared on social media didn't perform well. And, I take that personally because when you're making art or miniatures, anything that's coming from your creativity, it's a personal thing. And when you put it out there and you get like no response, it can feel hurtful. It's like, oh, I guess this is junk. I don't know. Like, why didn't people appreciate this? And it's so easy to get discouraged and kind of stuck in that mind frame and think, well, forget it then. Maybe I'm just not any good. I think the most important thing to do is remember that, one, you're doing it from a place of love. Everything that we create is a passion project. I believe that wholeheartedly. We get excited about an idea. We want to see it happen. We want the reality of it in our hands. And we have this amazing talent and ability to create it. So do that. And even if no one even saw it, it doesn't matter, because the joy it gives you is the most important thing. And I think people see that. I really, really, really do. I think the more you love and put effort into something, people will recognize that and they'll want to support you. So just don't give up. Just keep doing it. Do what makes you happy. You will find the right people and it will become successful. I can guarantee you that.
And I do think it is easy to get discouraged on the internet. I always try to keep in mind that this is a cliche too. Like, if you only get 10 likes, if 10 people came up to you and said your art was great, like on the street, it would be the best day ever.
Exactly. It really would.
And you also have to remember people are coming from different places. So I recently started posting on Facebook as well as Instagram and gotten some weird comments. I did a little cleaning video, where I'm dusting and mini vacuuming. And a woman said, that is the weirdest thing I've seen on the entire internet. And I was like, you must have a different internet than me, because that's not even the weirdest thing I've seen today, honey.
I know, that's so funny that you said that. I mean, are you still on dial-up? I mean, I don't even understand. There are definitely some social media platforms that I avoid. I've never once in all my life signed up or cared to sign up for Twitter. There are things I've heard about some platforms where it just sounds like a high school cafeteria. And I'm like, I'm good. I went through that already. I don't need any more negativity in my life.
You have to brush it off. And with me, I always think it's funny. Like if I see something on Instagram or Facebook or anywhere I don't like, which of course I do all the time, sure, it never occurs to me to stop and call that person out. Like I just want that experience to be over, and to find my people. Yeah. And so it always strikes me as funny when people take the time to say, you are what I don't like in the universe, when they don't have to have any contact with me other than the contact they're choosing to have. So I try to remember that that's a very unusual person and to brush that off.
Yes, there are some people that have a lot of time on their hands.
And you know what? They should all make minis.
Yeah, I love that. Yes.
Because the mini community is so much nicer. Well, Crystal, it's been so much fun having you on the show. I just love your spooky cute art, and I love your hutches. I love everything you do. It's so fun and, whimsical, and I think really original.
Well, thank you. That means a lot to me. Thank you.
So keep us posted on what you do, and everyone be sure to tune into Spook Show Babe on Instagram to see what else she creates.
Yes, and thank you so much again for reaching out and doing this. I think it's great that you took the time to even want to talk to me. I was so surprised when I got that message, because I've been listening to your podcast all week, and you do some really wonderful interviews with people, really informative stuff, fun stuff to listen to. I think what you're doing is really great. So thank you so much for letting me be on your show. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And thank you for binging Becky Mad About Miniatures all week.
You're welcome.
That's a lot of me. Well, thanks again, and bye-bye.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed talking to Crystal as much as I did. If you like the podcast, I would love a review, or just reach out with a comment on Instagram or Facebook. It's your comments and reviews that have helped this podcast grow. Until next time, remember, there are no rules in your dollhouse except those you create for yourself. Goodbye.